So we're going to hear about water infrastructure resiliency. Which is, of course, a very important issue because all of us drink water. And so some of us drink it in the form of coffee. And so if you're ready, come along.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming for the final briefing of HR 765, Water Infrastructure Resiliency and Sustainability Act of 2013. My name is Xiaoyu Qin, and I'm presenting on behalf of ODV. So today, I would like to begin with the problems of changing hydrological conditions and the negative impact of climate change on outdated water infrastructure in the US. And then I will discuss the problem of changing hydrological condition and its shift on our bill overview, and the theory of mindset change, and highlight the 3 key components of our implementation plan. Since the late 1970s, the average air temperature raised in the United States 0.48 degrees Fahrenheit every decade. Warmer temperature disrupts the balance between evaporation and precipitation patterns in the water cycle. As a result, dry areas get drier, wet areas get wetter. As you can see in the first map, the increased drought intensity in the central United States, while the coast areas are receiving more frequent storms and flood. At the same time, the sea level keeps rising as temperature gets warmer and warmer. Changing hydrological conditions decrease the resiliency and sustainability of outdated water infrastructures in the US and exacerbate the water quality and quantity problem. I think you are familiar with these 2 things in your life. Most water operators prefer use the traditional practice to stormwater management, such as new pipes for the first scenario. But this hard infrastructure-intensive approach is usually very expensive. However, green infrastructure solutions, which use natural hydrological features to management stormwater, provide benefits of economic and community, can solve this problem proactively. Therefore, HR 765 is a resource for water operators to enhance the adaptability of their water systems to face the risk associated with climate change. HR 765 authorized the EPA to administer a national grant program, which provided a total of $200 million from 2014 to 2018 to support the green infrastructure solutions. By green infrastructure solutions, there are 2 cost-effective projects supported by this bill. Smart water system is a real-time monitors of water use. So they will let the customers know how much water they have used and how much water they have saved to help directly manage their water consumption and reduce water stress. Porous concrete reduce the stormwater runoff, decrease the peak flows, and enable water infiltration by absorption of the pores. Decentralized and innovative projects can have a lot of physical benefits. Through these physical benefits, we are looking to change the current industry preference of capital-intensive and reactive system solutions. So let's begin with the primary step of our bill, is to select a water system facing immediate water stress and provide money for them to the project that is green infrastructure solutions. By doing this, the program seeks to strengthen adaptability of water systems in the United States. And then the successful implementation of the supported project and the positive environmental benefit will help decrease the water operators' doubt about the effectiveness of green infrastructure solutions. Finally, change this mindset could encourage an increase of investment in the decentralized and sustainable water system solutions in the future. To successfully implement this program, we need to administer and evaluate grant applications. Also need to distribute the fund to the water operators and make sure water operators are working on time and on budget. In order to do that, we operate on a yearly cycle, and there are 3 key components need to be happening the first year. Since it was the first year, we will need institutional development and communication to make sure the first establish this program successfully. Then we will need to evaluate the grant applications by using a 3-step grant selection process that ensure most innovative, impactful, and regionally balanced project can be selected. Finally, we have ongoing monitoring and evaluation to ensure the efficiency of operations at every level. So now let's look at some details. The program will work within current structure of the EPA, so we have a very lean budget because there's a division of large workload between EPA headquarters and regional offices. The EPA regional offices perform much of the ongoing operational works, such as they holding the information session about the grant program, and they receiving and selecting the proper project for headquarters to review, and monitoring the funded project implementation progress. Then the EPA headquarters will be responsible for the centralized activities. So they create the rules and guidelines for the funding process, distribute funds to water operators, and also they will finally report the progress of this bill to the Congress. In addition to the low-cost organizational structure, the 3-step grant selection process will ensure that we distribute the fund efficiently and nationally. The first step is screening by measuring number of people affected, geographical area affected, and exact frequency of reoccurring of catastrophic events. We will know what operators are facing immediate water stress, and we will give them priorities to the next step, which is scoring. In the scoring system, it involves a standardized matrix in 4 categories, which are innovation, environmental impact, economic impact, and water stress. This matrix will be generally in nature to make sure our bill will support a broad range of projects. The last step is balancing. We have set a distributional limit where no one state can get more than 10% of the total annual grant size. This ensures that grants are distributed relatively evenly and reduce bias. After distributing the funds to water operators, a tiered system of performance management will ensure this program is on track. The green arrows indicate the report from the bottom to the top, and the blue arrows indicate feedback from top to the bottom. So water operators have to collect data on their project's progress and report this to regional offices. Regional offices need to compare the data from all water operators and report this to the headquarters annually. After every level reporting, feedback will take place at the same time. The EPA headquarters give feedback to 10 regional offices on the selection of process. And the 10 regional offices will give feedback to water operators on their implementation progress quarterly. Finally, the EPA headquarters need to submit a report of the overall success of this bill to Congress every 3 years. In conclusion, changing hydrological conditions really challenge outdated water infrastructure in the United States. HR 765 is a grant program will support decentralized, proactive, and innovative projects all over the country to strengthen the adaptability of water system to climate change. This program will be an agent of change to shift the industry awareness of traditional water infrastructures to green infrastructure solutions. And also, the lean program design allows the EPA to focus on providing funds to projects that will improve the adaptability and resiliency of water systems. We hope this program will lead to a greater sustainability in the nation's water infrastructures in the future. Thank you very much, and I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, thank you to all the briefers. A uniformly excellent set of briefings this week. So let's give everybody a round of applause. So I want to summarize a little bit of what we've actually learned here. I know that we were in detail looking at these bills and thinking about water and energy and so on. But in fact, what we call the pedagogic objectives or the learning objectives of this course certainly involved learning something of the subject matter, but it's also the process of going from an environmental problem to moving away from the problem. Now, public policy doesn't solve problems. It makes problems less bad. Public policy is what we call remedial, serial, and incremental, meaning that we're moving away from the problem rather than to solving a problem. Unlike physical and natural science, where you could actually solve some problems, those of us in the public policy world know we just make problems less bad. And so we've learned something about that process. And part of what we've learned is how complex the problems are and how these programs that are designed to address these problems are themselves complex. So the first thing that we have to do is what we call cutting the problem down to size, and cutting the solution down to size to something that we can actually manage and implement. So you notice over and over again in these bills that we take a small part of it that we think is most important and most doable and put that into place. And that's actually how it works. Those of us who spent our parts of our career doing this kind of work know that you never are able to solve the whole problem, but you're trying to make progress. And we, in fact, have made progress. So in the case of environmental pollution, before the creation of EPA, the gross domestic product was increasing, and air and water and land pollution was increasing at the same or greater rate. Starting about 1980, the GDP kept growing, and environmental pollution has actually been shrinking for the 3 decades since then. And so we have not a pristine environment, but a healthier environment than the environment we had when we started. So we learned that, and we learned about that process of how to get from here to there. We also learned how to work together in a team process, helping each other, trying to make sure that somebody's strengths are compensated for by somebody's weakness. We helped each other get through problems, and we worked as teams. We also worked under tight deadlines. Every week there was something else due, and that train kept leaving the station. There's no incompletes in the real world. There's no incompletes in workshop. The project moves on, and so people have to get together and do the work. That also leads, I think, to an environment where we really learn from each other. We learn from other groups. As they present briefings, we learn from our colleagues, we learn from the faculty, and I think that learning process is accelerated by what we call learning by doing. So there were no assignments in workshop, there was no reading list. You had to make up your own assignments and your own reading list. You had to figure out what knowledge do we need in order to address this problem. And sometimes the first attempt wasn't very good. And so you did a second attempt, sometimes a third attempt, as you got closer to solving the problem. That is, in fact, how we do it as practitioners as well. Next semester is going to be very different. So next semester we have clients. The problems will actually be smaller than the problems we addressed here because most clients don't get to put in place whole new programs. Also, the clients, if you think you didn't like one of the bills we were working on this semester, you might find the client's take on a problem radically different than the way you would approach it. And I wouldn't say the customer is always right, but the client is mostly right. And we pretty much try to do what the client wants because that's really how professionals act. Now, if you find yourself in a situation with a client where you find that what they're doing is ethically wrong, we would then have a different kind of discussion. There's a book called Exit, Voice, and Loyalty I commend to you, which talks about what do you do when you disagree with the organization you're working in. I assume Professor Gondek is familiar with this work. The exit option is you leave, you say I'm not going to participate. The voice option is you say this is so important I'm going public to make a point at how bad this is. And the loyalty option says, I don't like this, but it's really not that important. I want to live to fight another day, so I'm going to fall into line and just do what I'm told to do. Now, in general, most of the issues that we disagree with are not ethical issues. They are issues of tactics and issues of cost-benefit or just policy disagreements we have. And as professionals, we sometimes have to decide to go ahead anyway. So the spring semester will be different. There's no output every week. We actually even have to design the outputs. Because the client will give us a problem, then we have to figure out how to address it. So it's a very different kind of process than the one that you've had in the summer and the fall. I think it's very exciting. I think that a lot of these projects actually end up being used by government agencies and nonprofits. It's our effort to provide pro bono service, free service, and of a public service to make the world a better place, which is why we do all this. You've often heard me talk about the fact that if we really wanted to make a lot of money, we'd find something else to do. This is a field that is really about making the world a better place. It doesn't require that you starve to death while you're doing it, but it does require that you focus on that mission of making the world a better place, which is really what we're trying to do. I was really pleased with the briefings I heard today. I saw enormous progress through the 2 semesters you've been here, and I even saw a fair amount of progress since the practice briefings last week. And so I congratulate the briefers and the teams for the continuous improvement. And I have to say that that's a process that you will also be doing for your whole career. The people here that work with me know that when I give a briefing, I'm constantly revising it and editing it up until the time I do it, and then afterwards I'm very self-critical about what I did wrong and how I would do better the next time. And that's really how effective professionals act. So again, congratulations. Next week is off because we don't meet the Wednesday before Thanksgiving because I don't believe in futility. The following Wednesday, though, is a very important session, the last session of the semester, where you meet individually with your faculty advisor, and there's time for reflection on an individual basis. I think in many respects that week is the most important one, where you really reflect on the 2 semesters and what you've learned and try to absorb that into your professional education so that when you're out in the real world and this stuff gets thrown at you, you have a mental model of how do I address this problem. And that's really the ultimate goal of the workshop. And our graduates that are out in the world doing this right now will tell you that's exactly what happens. I remember one video promoting the program. One of the graduates says, you know, my career is like a series of workshop projects. And I think that you're going to find that that's the case as well. So anyway, congratulations, and everybody have a happy holiday. Thanksgiving.